Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So the temperatures are dropping and quite a few of the squash plants are starting to die back. I mean, the bottle gourds are suffering with the cold. They've really struggled at the recently. They've been battered by the winds and they've been battered by the cold. We've got a couple that we're trying to mature and hopefully we're going to grow them on and we'll get a few more late bottle gourds. So what we're going to do today is we're going to harvest our squash and we're going to harvest our pumpkins. So let's get on it and let's see what our results are. Can you get into that bed with it for me? Be careful of what you're stepping on. There's some young squash that we're going to try and leave for as long as possible before they get damaged by the cold. But some of the bigger ones we're going to pick them so they're not ruined by the cold either. So Dave, can you come in here and get this? So when you harvest squash, the best place to harvest them is a little bit not there, not so close. So harvest them a little bit away from the actual pumpkin. So if you do get any rot coming down the stem, it doesn't go into the squash. So Dave, do you want to do the first honours? Say Bismillah and cut that one there. Higher up, get it there, and take it off. Bismillah. Go on, give it a snip. Bismillah. Good boy, mashallah. So that's the first one that's the first mishti khodu, or the sweet pumpkin that we've harvested this year. So, Khadi, that's for you. There you go, that's the first one for you.
Heavy? My turn.
So take that leaf off.
This one.
Now take this leaf off first. Then take this leaf off, then you've got working space. Just snip this leaf. There you go, snip it. Now you can see what you're doing, okay? Yeah. So now what you want to do is you're going to cut it there, away from... You're going to cut it there.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. But I mean, it's worked out quite nicely with the size of them. One will do one dish. So when we cook, we can cook one at a time, rather than cook half and then store half. Dave, get that orange one there. Just snip it all off. Just take the whole thing off. There you go. I'll take that off. There you go. Now if you have got plants that you snip off like this, you can just leave them on the ground and they'll mulch down and feed the soil. But because I want to try and mature the last few, I'm going to clear it up so I've got working space and I can see what's left and what's not. So take that plant off, that's it. Now, if you've got these, then just take that bit off there. Oh, hiya, take it off there where you cut it. Good. Now clean it up. No, take these bits off. Good man. That leaf. Go on, snip. That leaf. And it's good to have that little bit of that T section at the top. So if any damage and it starts to rot down, it doesn't go into the pumpkin. So they've really struggled this year because of the cold, and up here in Leeds it's just not been a good year for us. But we've got quite a few. They're small, but we've got enough. And I'm going to take this closure off as well at the same time. Here's another one. The reason that I'm not pulling up the vines is there's still these small ones that are growing, and they might just grow double in size. And although they won't reach maturity, they won't get to the place where they're fully tasty and they've developed all their flavour. But there'll be enough there for you to make a bhaji or something like that. So that's what we're trying to do with them. Just try and get them to that closer to just to bulk up a little bit more, and then we can pick them. And I'll take all these vines off and I'll mulch them down to compost over the winter. So here's another little one here. Let's see what else. One more just over here. Let's take that one as well. Just because it's getting a little bit too cold that I'm picking this. I mean, that's got a little bit deformed at the end, so it wasn't going to grow any bigger anyway. These ones that have got a little bit deformed won't store as well. You can feel it, it's a little bit soft to the touch as well, but it's still edible, perfectly edible. So we'll peel that and we'll use that within this week and the ones that have got a tougher skin, we can store those for a lot longer. So I'm going to pick my snake gourds. It's time, it's getting a little bit cold in the greenhouse, so I think we'll pick these. So that's the first one, bismillah. Bismillah. Another one. Let's take that one. I'm very happy about growing these actually. I think it's the second time we managed to grow these in the UK, so that's something that's quite pleasing for me actually. And they've grown into quite nice specimen. That's about 2 foot, just under 2 foot long, so it's a nice one. There's plenty more on the vine. If only they'd have come about a month earlier, they'd have all ripened and I would have been in for a bumper crop. I'm going to do what I can and try and keep this place warm, just so we can see if we can push those to ripening. But that's a nice harvest in itself. And you can see the greenhouse is just rammed with aubergines. We're getting loads and loads of aubergines at the moment. We're picking aubergines every couple of days. Lots and lots of chilies, absolutely loads of chilies. These little ones are absolutely, there's some real heat in them. Yeah, there's big green peppers, cayenne peppers, and they're growing really nice. So we picked these yellow pear tomatoes as well. I mean, these are beautiful. Look at the colour on them, absolutely gorgeous. Lots and lots of tomatoes. Let's get that one. That one's quite ripe, so we'll pick that one. But look at that, absolutely beautiful. So from the greenhouse, I don't want to harvest too many tomatoes. I'm going to be faced with a glut of tomatoes that I'm about to pick from outside right now, because I've seen a lot of people post about blight. So far, I've been lucky enough not to get blight, but I want to pick as many of my ripe tomatoes as I can right now and leave the rest of them to try and ripen on there as much as possible, just in case we get hit by blight. So I'm noticing slightly blotchy patches and what looks like it could be the start of blight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hack back my tomato plants, take off any flowers that have got no chance of maturing. We'll take off all these leaves. See, tomato leaves with blight on them, you can compost them, that's not a problem. And any of these tomatoes that are starting to turn, I'm going to harvest these. I'm going to ripen these inside. What happens with a tomato is, as it's starting to ripen, it starts to change from a deep green into a lightish green, and that's one that will definitely ripen inside the house. So whereas these ones, these are still quite dark green, and these have no chance of ripening in the house. So I'm going to take that off, I'm going to take that bunch off, and we'll ripen them indoors. And I'm going to leave those on and see what happens with them. Let's go around and pick the rest of our tomatoes, as many as we can. So all of these will ripen. Now, that's got a bit of that's got some insect damage on that. It's been ruined by insects. So that can go to the chickens. They'll eat that. But this will ripen inside. This bunch here, I'm going to take that off as well. We'll take those inside and they'll ripen quite nicely inside. But these ones, they won't ripen inside. Not yet. But what I'm going to do is, like this has got a load of flowers on that will never ripen. Get rid of that. Get rid of all of that. So now it's time to be ruthless. I mean, these tomatoes will all ripen inside, so that's a nice bunch for me to take. But these little ones, they've got no chance of ripening, so don't worry about snipping them off. Let's pick anything that looks like it's going to ripen. I'm definitely having it. These ones will ripen. I'm going to snip off all these leaves. So these are all the tomatoes that I've pulled off, hoping to ripen inside. I've left some still on the vines because they're just not going to turn yet. and I'll keep watching every single day. If I see the tomatoes starting to get affected by blight, every single tomato will come off. I've stripped off all the leaves, most of the foliage that can get damaged by blight, just to try and buy me a few more days more than anything else. And I'll just keep a watch out for it. I'll just keep a watch out. I mean, all in all, it's not a bad harvest. So I'm going to pull these pick these cucumbers as well. There's a couple of nice cucumbers here for us. There's one, that's a nice one. And there's number 2. That's another nice one. So we'll have that. All in all, it's not a bad harvest. We've got 12 pumpkins and a bowl full of tomatoes that will ripen, and a load more greener tomatoes on the way. And we've got loads of red tomatoes still in the greenhouse. So it's not bad. We're not doing too bad. It's not been the best of years, but it's been a good year, alhamdulillah. So I'll leave it for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.